Good morning. How are you? I hope everything's fine. Today we're going to discuss about resource-based theory uh, by involving two case studies. First, Ratans, and the second one is about Kopi Luwak. Okay, let's take a look at the slides. What is resource-based view? Or we call it RBV. Some other people call it RBT or resource-based theory. RBV is a model that highlights the role of resources which help firms to achieve performance. So if the resource exhibit VRIO attributes, what is VRIO? And then we could talk about it later on. Then the resource will help firm to gain and to sustain their competitive advantage. Okay, there are two types of resources. First is tangible, the second one is intangible. The tangible one involve lands, building, machinery, equipment. So they all intangible. So firm can easily buy the resources at the market, so they can convert the little advantage to the company. So however, if rival buy the similar resources, they can soon acquire the identical assets. So the sustainable competitive advantage will no longer exist. On the other hand, intangible assets is everything else that has no physical presence but still be owned by the company. For example, brand credibility, brand equity, trademark, intellectual property, and other things. And then we turn to VRIO. So VRIO is a valuable, rare, costly to imitate, from can organize to capture the value. So it means whether the value is the resource is valuable. Okay, what happens if a firm has no valuable resource, and then we call that one as competitive disadvantage. What happens if the company have a valuable resource, and then we go to the next reason, whether the resource is rare or not. If it is valuable but not rare, it's called a competitive parity. And then when we call that one as a temporary competitive advantage, if it's a valuable, rare, but the company suffer to imitate, or it's costly to imitate. And then the next reason is the company have valuable resource, rare resources. At the company, it's difficult to imitate. And then the last ones about how the firm organize the value, to capture the value. If it's all, and then we call, if the company have a valuable resource, rare, but more efficient to imitate, and then the firm fail to organize to capture the value, and then we call that temporary advantage. So the four elements supposed to be support how firm achieve resources. And then RBB prepositions hypothesis. It's argued that it is much more feasible to exploit external opportunity using the existing resources. So it's a concern about existing resources, and then it's better than trying to acquire new skill to a different opportunity. It means that in RBV, resources are given as a major role in helping company to achieve higher organization performance. So there's any other steps. First, identify, classify resources, identify firm capabilities. This is the way of strategic analysis, and then price the rent generating potential resources. If they don't have any resources, and then they rent or generate things. And then the last, they come up with the strategy. And then after the strategy, they make it assessment again to identify resource gap it need to be fulfilled, and then investment some more, and then start again to identify and classify the firm resources. Okay, how to implement the theory? So we're going to take a look at another presentation. Okay, let's take a look at the case. The case is titled Kopi Luwak. I hope you understand. You are already familiar with the Kopi Luwak. The case is drawn from my article I wrote with Bu Irsa in 2012. It's titled Kopi Luwak, a Conservation Strategy for Global Markets, published by Emerald Emerging Market Case Study in UK. Okay. Before we discuss the case, it is essential to highlight the disclaimer. This case is written solely for educational purposes. It's not intended to represent successful or unsuccessful managerial decision making. And then the authors might have this disguised name, financial and other recognizable information to protect confidentiality. Right, this is the article. It is in the condition is about in 2012. It was Mr. Irwan, the new CEO of PTP 12, PT Perkebunan Nusantara. And then he put forward a vision about the plantation company. During his initial tenure, he was fully aware that one of the company products, Kopi Luwak, is becoming popular. So he said that during our observations, I'm expecting that Kopi Luwak will bring a revolution in Indonesia coffee industry. And then the company will provide more opportunity to local industry. And then against the company attempt to manage the demands, they attempt to meet the emerging demands. Why emerging demand? Because during the early 2010s, the price of Kopi Luwak has been increased dramatically. You can see that the price of Luwak is more than $200 per cup. It is in New York, in London. It was a time, but right now the price of Kopi Luwak dramatically decreased. Okay, I hope everyone know about Kopi Luwak. What is Kopi Luwak? I hope you understand how to make a Kopi Luwak. So it's involved a small animal. We call that one civet. So the idea is there are some people who just get coffee from the civet poop, and then they clean up, and then they make it as a beverage later on. But this is naturally they just get the cats. People forage for the cats dropping in the field, and then leaving the civet unharmed and left alone to venture in the forest. So let the civet find the best coffee by their own taste. But along the increasing demands, the farmer tried to catch the civets. They put in the cage and they try to rising the cage. It's a wild, actually wild animal, and then it's make because the increasing demands, the price is quite high, so the production process is become hard, and the production process is harming the thousands of innocent civets. So that's the dark side of Luwak, Kopi Luwak. So yeah, okay. We turn to the company PTP 12. It's state-owned company. It's expected to generate profits. It's merged, so the purpose is profits. And then the company have huge resources because it's merged from 3 company before, PTP 23, PTP 16, 26, 29, and they manage the area, plantation area, about 80,000, more than 80,000 hectares from Ngawi to Banyuwangi, from the west part of East Java to eastern part of East Java. And then there are 34 plantations, 1 farm, and 2 hospitals. Okay, let's take a look at the income statements. What happened? So you can see the income increase, cost production also increase, gross profit also increase, but net income very small if we compare to the gross profit. Yeah, gross profit, for example, in 2005, 155, the net income only 34, and gross profit in 2014, 600, and the net income only 178. It's less than one quarter. What happened? So you can see there's other costs and interest. So very high. Other income also good, but other cost and interest is quite high. What about the financial balance, the asset balance? Okay, fixed asset is huge because it's a state-owned company, but the long-term liability is much higher than the short-term liability. Before it's the cap is quite small, but in the future it's expecting that's much higher. And then the ROA, they expect the ROA is increase. And however, the debt to equity is slightly changed. Okay, you may notice about Kopi Rolas, Rolas Cafe. You can find a lot of Rolas Cafe in Surabaya. It was an idea, new business of PTP 12. They tried to introduce Kopi Rolas, Rolas Cafe. And then it's not, the result is not really good. Last year, there was some ex-worker who attempt to take strike to get their rights. And then the question for the end of case is, what is your strategy? So we will discuss the strategy at the ULS.